very good evening. Welcome to State of Business on Art Television. I'm Ashing Sani Veerasinghe. Let's have a look at the headlines for today. Government explains how a needy individual who expects the 5,000 rupees financial assistance should apply for it. International Monetary Fund predicts that the world's economic output will drop $9 trillion in 2020 and 2021. News in detail. The Ministry of Health announces that the total number of positive COVID-19 cases goes up to 235 with 2 more new cases today. Health Minister Pavitra Wanyarachi, addressing the media in Colombo, said that any family or individual who expects the financial assistance from the government could inform it to the relevant Grama Seva Niladhari or any public official who is engaged in assistance program. Health Minister Pavitra Wanyarachi, addressing the media at the Government Information Department, said that the Presidential Task Force to assess the COVID-19 outbreak affected persons is making plans to assure that all needy people receive the necessary commodities during this period. Health Minister Wanyarachi said that as instructed by the Presidential Task Force, the rural committees of the task force will be meeting on both the 17th and 18th at the village level to finalize about the needy persons who need financial assistance during this period. Minister said that the task force had already identified some categories to be assisted and the list will be finalized by the 19th of this month, enabling the payments to be made on the 20th of this month. However, Minister Wanyarachi stresses that a family will be assisted only under one category. Minister reiterated that any individual who expects the 5,000 rupees financial assistance need to make a written request via a public official to the village committee that will be met on the 17th and 18th of this month. Meanwhile, the Health Ministry announced that the total number of COVID-19 positive cases went up to 235 with the identification of 2 more patients this evening. Minister Wanyarachi also said that while 163 individuals are being treated at the moment, a number of 63 persons were already discharged after a full recovery from the virus. Meanwhile, police spokesman SP Jolya Senaratne, addressing the media at the same venue, said the arrest of the Riaz Badiuddin, the brother of former Minister Rishad Badiuddin, took place as it was revealed that he had engaged in a series of discussions with one of the main suspects of the case Easter Sunday attack. Riaz Badiuddin, the brother of former Minister Rishad Badiuddin, was arrested by a special team of the Criminal Investigations Department in Puttlam yesterday in connection with the Easter Sunday attack on 21st April last year. Police spokesman SP Senaratne said that investigations were very complicated, but the police are working hard to arrest all the suspects involved in the attack. He also said that these suspects have financially assisted a number of companies and some organizations had been offered with plots of lands. Army Commander Lieutenant General Shavindra Silva today announced that Tarapuram village in Mana, which was earlier isolated with the identification of corona-infected persons, is now reopened. Meanwhile, curfew imposed in 19 districts will be lifted at 6 a.m. tomorrow and reimposed at 4 p.m. on the same day. Even though the curfew will be temporarily lifted tomorrow in some areas, the curfew in high-risk zones to COVID-19 such as Colombo, Gampaha, Kalutara, Puttlam, Kandy and Jaffna districts and Ratnapura and Palmadulla police divisions will remain in force until further notice. Travelling to and from all districts remains completely prohibited except for the purpose of providing essential services. The government urges the public to tolerate the inconveniences caused as a result of ongoing curfew in a responsible manner. Meanwhile, the police media division notes that more than 280 individuals who violated curfew regulations have been arrested today. Thus, the number of overall curfew violators has surpassed 28,400 and more than 7,190 vehicles are taken into custody. The Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka announces that number concessions will be provided for the finance companies and the leasing companies. Issuing a statement on Sunday, the central bank reveals that the above-mentioned businesses as well as the individuals affected by the outbreak of COVID-19 will be facilitated by this program. The Monetary Board of the Central Bank of Sri Lanka decided to introduce a number of measures to provide flexibility to licensed finance companies and specialized leasing companies facilitating the affected. CBSL statements said that these measures include relaxation of regulatory requirements and granting liquidity support for needy licensed finance companies. Accordingly, Monetary Board has decided to reduce the maintenance of liquid asset requirement for time deposits, savings deposits, and borrowings to ease liquidity stress faced by LFCs and SLCs due to sudden withdrawal of cash by depositors and delay of repayment of loan rentals. Central Bank will also provide an extension of 1 year to comply with minimum core capital requirements up to 2 billion rupees to 2.5 billion rupees. The bank will also defer the enhancements of minimum capital adequacy requirements due by LFCs and SLCs on July 1st this year and July 1st of next year for a further period of 1 year until 2021 and 2022 respectively. Further, the CBSL will also relax deadlines on submission of statutory returns, and accordingly, all LFCs and SLCs are informed to submit statutory returns to the Department of Supervision of Non-Bank Financial Institutions within 2 weeks of the commencement of normal business operations of such LFCs and SLCs. The statement also added that while CBSL will closely monitor the operations of all financial institutions with latest market developments and take further measures appropriately in order to maintain the financial system stability of the country, the general public is hereby requested to support the initiatives taken by the authorities. Stay tuned for more news after this short break. Welcome back after the break. Assuming the coronavirus pandemic fades in the second half of this year and that policy actions taken around the world are effective, International Monetary Fund projects global growth in 2021 to rebound to 5.8%. This was announced by the Director of Research Department at IMF, Geeta Gopinath, launching its first World Economic Outlook report since the spread of the coronavirus.
So now, under the assumption that the pandemic and required containment peaks in the second quarter in most countries in the world and then recedes in the second half of this year, we are projecting global growth in 2020 to fall to -3%. Now, this is a downgrade of 6.3 percentage points from January 2020, a major revision over a very short period of time. This makes the Great Lockdown the worst recession since the Great Depression and far worse than the global financial crises. Assuming the pandemic fades in the second half of 2020 and that policy actions taken around the world are effective in preventing widespread firm bankruptcies, extended job losses, and system-wide financial strains, we project global growth in 2021 to rebound to 5.8%. Now, this recovery in 2021 is only partial, as the level of economic activity is projected to remain below the level we had projected for 2021 before the virus hit.
Speaking further, IMF Director of Research Department Geeta Gopinath highlighted that the cumulative loss to global GDP over 2020 and 2021 from the pandemic crisis could be around $9 trillion. Gopinath noted that for the first time since the Great Depression, both advanced economies and emerging and developing economies are in recession due to coronavirus.
The cumulative loss to global GDP over 2020 and 2021 from the pandemic crisis could be around $9 trillion, greater than the economies of Japan and Germany combined. Now, this is a truly global crisis, as no country is spared. Countries reliant on tourism, travel, and entertainment for their growth are experiencing major disruptions. Emerging market and developing economies face additional challenges. They face unprecedented reversals in capital flows, major currency pressures, while at the same time coping with weaker health systems and much lower fiscal space to support their economies. So for the first time since the Great Depression, both advanced economies and emerging and developing economies are in recession. For 2020, growth in advanced economies is projected at minus 6%. Emerging market and developing economies, which typically have normal growth levels well above advanced economies, are also projected to have negative growth of minus 1% and minus 2.2% if you exclude China.
Bringing you the latest worldwide updates on coronavirus pandemic, it is reported that more than 2,950,000 COVID-19 cases are reported worldwide, with more than 126,780 deaths. Meanwhile, USA President Donald Trump announced yesterday that he is halting funding to the World Health Organization. Currently, USA has the highest number of coronavirus cases, accounting to more than 614,246. However, US President Donald Trump said he is going to end funding to the World Health Organization, claiming it has failed in its basic duty in its response to the coronavirus outbreak. He accused the WHO of mismanaging and covering up the spread of the virus after it emerged in China.
Today, I'm instructing my administration to halt funding of the World Health Organization while a review is conducted to assess the World Health Organization's role in severely mismanaging and covering up the spread of the coronavirus. Everybody knows what's going on there. American taxpayers provide between $400 million and $500 million per year to the WHO. In contrast, China contributes roughly $40 million a year and even less.
Nevertheless, Trump's announcement is widely condemned, with Bill Gates calling it as dangerous as it sounds. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres says it is not the time to cut WHO resources. Moving on, South Korea's parliamentary elections went strong today with tight restrictions in place. South Koreans voted for 300 members of the National Assembly. Masks, temperature checks and plastic gloves were made mandatory to reduce the risk of infection for the 44 million eligible voters. Subsequently, New Zealand's Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern announced that she and other government ministers will take a 20% pay cut for 6 months. Ardern said the move was in solidarity with those who had lost their jobs, underwent pay cuts or were relying on wage subsidies. A day after the lockdown was extended to 3rd of May in India, new guidelines from the Ministry of Home Affairs have been released. Thus, India says all agriculture and farming activities will be allowed after 20th April. Public transport, flights and train services will remain suspended except for those carrying health and emergency workers. Schools and universities, all religious places of worship and sports facilities are suspended until further notice in India. On the other hand, Singapore has seen another upsurge in positive tests, and over the past day, the total cases went beyond 3,000. Since last week, local cases have skyrocketed in Singapore. Thus, Singapore has made it mandatory to wear a face mask as soon as one leaves the house. And that's all the news for today. Remember to maintain the 1 meter distance among one another even when the curfew is lifted. Stay home, stay safe. With that, we are wrapping up for today. See you tomorrow with State of Business at the same time. Until then, take care.